People say they want a better world. You hear it everywhere. In meetings. In ads. In speeches. In posts. But then you look around and you see retreat. You see promises soften. You see strong words replaced with safe words. And you start to feel a quiet suspicion. Maybe the problem is not a lack of caring. Maybe the problem is that caring is not built into the way we make money. If your business model is built to reward short-term wins, then even sincere people will walk away when it gets hard. That is the uncomfortable truth sitting under a lot of modern purpose talk. Context matters because many companies did not become quiet by accident. They moved into purpose fast because it looked like the future. It brought praise. It brought attention. It brought talent. It felt like momentum. Then the pressure arrived. Costs appeared. Critics appeared. Politics appeared. And suddenly purpose felt risky. So they stepped back. Not always because they stopped believing. Often because their model could not hold the weight. Their model was built to protect profit first and treat everything else as optional decoration. When the weather changed, the decoration fell off. The surface concept is simple. A better world needs a better business model. Not just better messaging. Not more inspirational stories. Not more one-off donations. A model is the engine. It decides what gets funded when no one is watching. It decides what stays when trends move on. It decides what survives inside real quarterly pressure. This is why performance for optics collapses. It is not connected to the engine. You can see this in everyday life. If you join a gym because you want to look like someone who goes to a gym, you might post a photo the first week. You might buy nice shoes. But if your daily schedule does not support it, you stop. If you have no plan for sleep, food time, and stress, the gym becomes wishful thinking. The same happens in business. Good intent is not enough. The model has to make the right action the easier action. Insight 2 is the hidden assumption that holds many people back. We assume solving social problems is charity work. We assume it sits outside real business. We assume that if a company does good, it must accept loss. Or that doing good is something you do after profit, not through profit. This assumption creates a false choice. Either you help people or you run a strong business. Either you focus on planet or you focus on growth. Many leaders feel trapped inside this choice. So they pick what they will be rewarded for. And the reward system usually points to profit alone. But there is another possibility. You can design value so that doing good is part of the growth story, not a side story. You can make impact a driver of demand, trust, loyalty, and new markets. This does not happen by accident. It happens by design. And that leads to insight 3, which is the structural pattern behind real change. Real change is not overnight. It is not solo. And it is not neat. It requires time because behavior does not shift with a slogan. People need repetition. They need trust. They need reminders. They need a reason to try again after they forget. This is true for health habits. It is true for safety habits. It is true for how people treat each other. Think about how hard it is to change a simple routine at home. Like drinking more water. Like putting your phone away at night. Like washing your hands every time without thinking. You can know it is important and still not do it. You can care and still forget. So when we talk about large-scale social change, the challenge is not only technology. It is daily behavior. And behavior change requires long commitment. Not a one-month campaign. Not a seasonal push. Not a quick partnership that ends when the news cycle changes. It also requires that the need is placed at the center, not as an afterthought. When a company puts a clear mission at the center, it changes decisions. It changes product design. It changes marketing. It changes how success is measured. It changes where teams spend effort. Without that, focus, people drift. They chase too many small goals. They get distracted. A clear mission acts like a filter. It asks, does this choice help the mission or not? And then there is collaboration. Not as a nice word. As a practical requirement. Many problems are too large for one actor. Companies often want to own the story. But real impact often requires sharing. Sharing data. Sharing space. Sharing credit. Working with governments. NGOs. Communities. Sometimes even competitors. That feels strange to many business leaders. But it is often the only way to reach scale. Reframing now becomes possible. Instead of asking should business be involved in social issues, you ask a different question. What kind of value are we creating and for whom? If your product touches daily life, you are already shaping behavior and culture. You are already part of the system. Even if you pretend you are not. A soap bar is not just a soap bar when it can reduce illness. A drink is not just a drink when it sits inside norms about masculinity and safety. A pad is not just a pad when it decides whether a girl goes to school that week. Many products sit at the front line of dignity. That does not mean brands should play hero. It means brands should take responsibility for the space they already occupy. And they should do it ethically. Application to daily life is not only for CEOs. This applies to anyone building anything. If you are working on content, on a small business, on a community project, on a school club, on a career path, you also have a model. You have a pattern of how you spend time and energy. You have a reward system. Likes, money, praise, comfort, speed, safety. Your model will decide what you keep doing when motivation drops. So you can ask yourself the same question. Is the thing I say I care about built into my weekly actions? Or is it something I talk about when I feel inspired? If it is not built in, it will fade. If it is built in, it will survive stress. Another daily example is how we use words like awareness. Awareness can be the beginning, but it cannot be the whole plan. If you want change, you need a path. Who needs to act? What action is possible? What resource is missing? What habit must shift? If you cannot answer these, you are likely performing care instead of building care into a system. The deepening is that many social problems feel heavy because they are tied to shame and silence. Things like periods, violence, mental health. These are often hidden. People suffer quietly. And systems stay unchanged because the people with power do not have clear feedback from those with need. That is why voice matters. But voice alone still needs a structure that responds. Stories need channels. Channels need funding. Funding needs a model. Even new tools like AI can help gather voices and patterns, but they still require ethical choices. Who controls it? Who benefits? Who is protected? The goal is not a shiny tool. The goal is dignity at scale. And dignity at scale requires more than good hearts. It requires design. It requires incentives. It requires staying when it is hard. It requires many groups moving together even when they do not fully trust each other at first. It requires building a mission that is bigger than a brand and then building a system that can carry that mission without collapsing the moment the crowd gets bored. So maybe the question is not whether purpose is real or fake, but whether your model is strong enough to hold your purpose when the world pushes back, and what part of your own work life right now is still wishful thinking because the model underneath it is not designed to get you there.